Win big with new DRF All Access Past Performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all three past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code ONEFREEPP for a free single card today.
Hi everybody, Dan Illman here, taking a look at the British Columbia Derby, a Grade 3 race at Hastings on Saturday. It's carded as race number 6. Let's take a look at the field. It is a full field of 3-year-olds going 1 1/8 in the British Columbia Derby, and it features the Canadian Derby winner, the number 2 August Rain, just a very likable sort who's won 6 of 10 in his career and took advantage of a hot and heavy pace to rally from far, far back in the Canadian Derby. And good news for August Rain fans and for his connections. We'll take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. We are expecting another fast pace. The 7 Lord of Battle was part of that pace in the Canadian Derby. The 8 Tougher Than the Rest. This is a horse that has shown speed at Emerald Downs in the past. The 11 Jade Dutton sat a little bit last time out in the Canadian Derby, made a first run into that fast pace, but is a horse that has also shown plenty of early speed. Even the 1 Shock the House, breaking from the inside post, is expected to show speed. He's been on the lead at the pace call of his last 3 races, and he's the first horse we'll take a look at. Let's watch Shock the House's most recent start at Hastings in the CTHS Sales Stakes, a restricted event going 1 1/16 on a sloppy track. He set the pace that day at a pretty big price, and he held gamely to be second. He's very, very lightly raced. This will be his 5th lifetime start, and he's still eligible for a non-winners of 2 life affair. The issue is that Shock the House thus far's best running style has been when he makes the lead. And considering the pace is likely to be very, very fast, he's going to have to go another 1/16 of a mile. I'm a little concerned about Shock the House's ability to get this trip if he doesn't get the right race flow. The 2 is August Rain. We're going to watch his win in the Canadian Derby at Century Mile last time out. He beat 4 of these horses. He did get a setup. They went extremely fast. For that 1.25 mile race, the half mile was clocked in 45 1/5 seconds. That just helps closers like August Rain, who powered away to score. This is a horse that's done very good work at Hastings in the past. This is his home track, and he should get another setup. Turning back to 1 1/8 won't be a problem. Classy City is the number 3. This horse was a stakes winner at Century Mile 2 starts back, and I thought he ran a sneaky good race when 4th in the Canadian Derby. That pace was solid, and he was sitting in the 2nd flight and was one of the horses, along with Jade Dutton, to make that first run into the strong pace, and then he understandably flattened out. But it's not like he tired terribly and plummeted all the way to the back of the pack. He still hung on and finished 4th. This shorter distance will work out for Classy City, and I think he might be able to be taken back a little bit more off the pace this time around. I think at 15-1, he's a horse you might want to consider on the bottom of single race exotics at the very least. Diocles is the number 4. This horse is coming off of a 3rd place effort in the CTAH Cell Stakes, a race where he finished behind the rail horse Shock the House. Diocles has the right running style for this race. He showed that 2 starts back when winning the Sir Winston Churchill at Hastings, going 1 1/16. The race wasn't very fast on the Beyer scale, only earning a 70, but this horse can benefit if the pace is hot, and he is a fairly consistent runner. He's been on the board in 7 of 9. What's Shaken is the number 5. He finished 4th in the CTAH sales, and this is another horse, very lightly raced, has some upside potential, is going to have to tap into that potential if he's going to pull off an upset in this field. But like Diocles, he has the right running style for this race. Finished behind Diocles, however, in his last 2 starts. Not only has to face that foe, but tougher ones as well. Westminster is the number 6. This horse was the beaten favorite last time out, cutting back to a 6.5 furlong sprint. He was odds on that day, and I really didn't see much of an excuse. He was in against Money Shot, who's also in here. They basically controlled very moderate fractions throughout, and Westminster couldn't go with Money Shot at the end. Maybe Westminster is just simply more effective going longer. His race 2 starts back in the Sir Winston Churchill was a pretty good effort. He made an early bid to get to the lead turning into the stretch, and then he flattened out at the end. Blinkers have gone on in his last 2 races. We've yet to see that market improvement, but he's finally going to be a price in here. Lord of Battle is the number 7, just a super impressive debut winner, going 1 mile at Century Mile, and then they threw him to the wolves in the Canadian Derby. Likely a case of too much too soon in only his second lifetime start, and it didn't help that he was part of that hot and heavy pace battle. The connections are going to forge on with Lord of Battle, who's likely going to be part of the pace again, but he's going to have to overcome several other pace protagonists. The 8 is tougher than the rest, and he's coming off a runner-up effort in this race at Emerald Downs, his first route going a mile and a 16th. I just didn't see much of an excuse in this race. He was able to drop a 24-second opening quarter on the field while clear, and he just was second best as the favorite. At least the third-place finisher came back to run well, finishing third in an allowance race at Emerald with a 75 Beyer speed figure. This is another horse that likes to be forwardly placed, and a fast pace might cook his goose. Horatio is the number 9. This horse is stretching back out in distance after failing as the favorite at odds-on in a claiming event. We'll watch Horatio. He was wired this day, and maybe he was a little bit unlucky because he's sort of in behind horses. He'll end up finishing second. He's been very consistent recently, but this is just a gigantic step up in class and distance for the 9 Horatio, 20-1 on the morning line. We talked about Westminster earlier on. Let's watch the horse that beat him in that maiden race last time out. That was Money Shot, and Money Shot just had the best of it. They didn't go very fast up front. Money Shot was able to clear off from Westminster on the turn, and he holds sway. He has been facing tough company as a maiden. He got his confidence boost last time out, and it's worth noting that he earned a pretty competitive 71 Beyer speed figure. That being said, he's stretching out in distance. He's stepping up in class. The pace is going to be hot. I've always been a fan of the 11 Jay Dutton, who was 4th in the Sir Winston Churchill after setting the pace. And then in the Canadian Derby, I think they did the right thing and tried to rate with him. He made a big wide move into the teeth of the pace into contention, and he fought on for second. It was a really good performance for Jay Dutton, especially considering that a mile and a quarter is likely beyond his scope. I don't mind him cutting back to a mile and an eighth, although I'm still concerned that this distance might be a little bit far for him as well. He can be forwardly placed, but that last race shows me that he is willing to sit off the pace if necessary and make a run. It just needs to be timed right. He's a solid contender at 5-1 if he can avoid a wide trip from post 11. Skipper's Pride is the number 12. They tried him in the Canadian Derby. He did not run well at all. He was behind that fast pace, and he just never kicked. He was 5-1 that day off of a good effort as the beaten favorite, but off that performance, he's hard to trust, especially breaking from a far outside post. Let's take a look at my top selection for the British Columbia Derby. I do think August Rain's going to get a setup again, and he's so consistent that if he goes off at the 5-2 morning line, I think that's a very, very fair price. Jay Dutton, who finished second to him in the Canadian Derby, he's 5-1 on the line. I wish this distance was a little bit shorter, but he ran pretty well considering the race flow. Keep an eye on the 3, Classy City. I think this horse might get a better setup than last time when he was close to the pace, expecting him to be taken back and make one run. But August Rain's going to look to make it back-to-back derbies when he likely goes off favorite in the British Columbia Derby, race 6 at Hastings on Saturday. Good luck.